Thank you. This is the Okeanos Explorer. We're at a depth of about 1,660 meters, and we will be on the seafloor here within, 5 minutes or so. We expect the seafloor to be a little bit below 1,700 meters here. So that's what Mike is talking about. These circular.
Yeah, some of them you can really tell that they look like witch's hats. So Mike had observed that there are witch's hat mucus webs, and
Huh.
sometimes they just look circular, but if you get them at the right angle, you can see the conical part on the top.
Yeah, Mike, it would be interesting to let us know what you think creates
See that one?
those features. I haven't seen them before myself.
They look neat in the Sirius cam sometimes too. Bottom in sight.
We will be moving from between two waypoints that we have identified prior to the dive. The distance between those two waypoints is approximately 800 meters. We expect time on the seafloor today to be about 5.5 hours, so that should get us across that distance at about 1/10 of a knot for Sirius. We will be moving back and forth with Hercules in a general search pattern, looking for features on the seafloor, seeps, and whatever else we see. This is the Okeanos Explorer.
Starting to see some brighter white staining of the seafloor. The mussel shell.
Looks like a stingray to the right. Yes.
Here. It does look like some kind of a ray or a skate.
That's nice.
I don't know.
It's interesting that doesn't appear on our list of acronyms. Skate.
So we're calling it a skate.
Well,
Yeah.
fish. It's a truly primeval looking form of life. Great view of it on the Sirius cam as well.
Yeah, I think it is a skate. Got that shape.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with a zoom to the tail area if you want to do that. Appears, I'm always fascinated. It appears remarkably unperturbed by the fact that a large, brightly lit object is staring back at it. I mean, I mean, Aaron, do you know anything about the eyesight of those organisms? I mean, I would think that
don't.
having bright lights shined at eyes that are used to having very low light levels would be a big issue, but they may have covers or over their eyes that allow them to, or it's sleeping or something. So
Doesn't seem to be reacting at all,
no, it's amazing. It's just amazing.
but maybe this particular animal isn't very aggressive. Certainly, we've come up on swordfish, and they get kind of agitated.
We had a swordfish attack Big Herc on Nautilus last year in the Med. And of course, there's a famous story about a swordfish actually getting stuck in the foam on Alvin back in the, I guess it was the mid 60s, right? Actually came up along with Alvin, right? Now, is that a small anemone off to the right on the seafloor there? Well,
Yeah,
we're gonna get.
or I'm not sure if that's might be a solitary coral or an anemone. I can't really tell. That's a little squat lobster right there, right behind, underneath his tail.
Clearly, the skate has decided to move a little bit in response to the perturbation that the little Herc arrival has created. That's great. That's great zoom, guys. Barb at the end of the tail. That is an aggressive weapon for the skate when it. Gentlemen, I think we can move on when you're. Roger that. Roger that. It's a pretty good sized animal. Can we get the lasers on here, gentlemen? There you go. Lasers are 10 centimeters and gives you an idea that that animal's the better part of a meter long. That's great. Wonderful, wonderful work, guys.
Seems to be like pushing along the bottom with something, some fins down there.
I think it just, it's got, I think it ripples those outer edges, and I think it just moves very, very.
Up to the left video.
He just swam off the screen, but he was in view.
This is the Okeanos Explorer. We are getting underway now on a recon dive. This is dive 06. The area is south of Biloxi Salt Dome in the northern Gulf of Mexico. This is the last dive in a series of dives that we have been conducting this week to assess and refine methodologies for quantitative assessment of gas escape at naturally occurring seeps. We have successfully tested both a gas capture device and a grid sizing device for bubbles in other areas, and this is our first location south of Biloxi Salt Dome. This will be our last dive for our seep flux work. It could be the same skate that we saw earlier. It looks as though
Probably.
probably is. We are just now getting underway. We're near waypoint 1. We have 2 waypoints mapped out for our search today. They're about 800 meters apart. We will be looking for naturally occurring seeps, which we suspect may exist in this area, and we will also be looking at interesting features along the way. So stay with us. This is the Okeanos Explorer. Looks like some of the staining that we've seen earlier in association with seeps and encrusting biology associated with seeps. Looks like we have some topography off to the left in the left rear background of the little Herc view.
I see a little bit of dark staining and white staining here. Again, indicative of seepage.
No encrusting biology to speak of, though.
No, and I don't see a lot of those little copepods swimming around either that we've seen in other places.
Right. Bob Carney has joined us. Hi, Bob.
And this is Bill Shedd on the line as well.
Great, Bill.
Great.
Good to have you with us.
Thanks, video. I missed that. Bob Carney also observed holothurians. Oh, well, I missed them, I think. They were small. Only about 1 inch long.
Clearly some areas of larger topography on the seafloor. We're coming up on one right now. Got some, they look like closed depressions in the
Wow.
in the little Herc video. We're probably going to want to take a little bit of a look here, gentlemen. I see, looks like we've got some carbonate hard grounds. Yeah, I think we probably should take a look. Our primary goal today is to identify potential seep locations, and this has got that potential. Roger that.
We got some fishing line there in front of that carbonate that we're going to take a look at. An all too common site here in the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico.
Depressions like this can be associated with the dissociation of hydrate, and we've seen this at Biloxi Salt Dome. We may see hydrate here, we may see encrusting biology, and it is possible that we will see escaping gas. So we've stopped the ship to take a look. Got a very nice looking crab in defensive position there to the right. Doesn't like us intruding on his terrain. No, I mean, we've got, yeah, I think we want to do a look-see first around the edge of this depression. I don't want to spend a lot of time. If we don't see evidence for fluid escape, we can move on.
The feature I see in our geophysical data is a slight depression, and this is probably what we're seeing. I'm surprised to see rocks here because we didn't see a lot of reflectivity in our data.
Yeah, of course, within a depression, it might be hard for the seismic to actually resolve, you know, a high backscatter return. And these outcrops are not very large.
Right. Right. The signal is being scattered out away from the cables we use.
Absolutely right.
See the returns. And these are small rocks, too. These might be just isolated. These are way below the resolution of what I could see.
Right.
Unless there's rocks below the mud.
It's pretty clear from the Little Herc sector scanning sonar that this is not the only depression of this type that we're seeing in this immediate vicinity. We're looking and seeing other examples of this. We're not going to be able to investigate them all, but we're taking a look at this first one. And we might be good to get a zoom on those dark objects that are in your center view right now, if we can arrange that. Yeah, let's take a look at this center view, and then we'll pan right and take a look at the others as well. It does look like an incrustation on a hard ground, but we'll take a closer look and see. Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm thinking. Tube worms as well. So.
Yep, certainly mussels there.
Lasers on, gentlemen, when you get a chance, please. If I can get lasers on, that would be good. Are they on? Oh, sorry. That's good. Yeah, certainly a small colony of living mussels.
I can't tell what those little white things are on them, if they're snails or limpets.
Can we get a bit more zoom there? Roger that.
There's
Looks
two
like
berms there too.
you've got
Yep.
some squat lobsters there as well, right?
Yep. I did see some. An anemone there, right in
Yep.
the center.
We
Some
definitely
shrimp.
have tube worms.
And so I see one of those polychaetes that has the two tentacles sticking out there in front of that mussel.
Now, is that an amphipod there crawling on the just to the right? Oh, it's a shrimp, I guess.
There's a shrimp
It's
there.
a shrimp, I guess.
Aaron, what the polychaete with the two tentacles sticking out? What are they called?
That is about a question
No?
for Bob Carney. What are those called, Bob? I don't know what they're called.
Okay. We haven't seen a lot of those.
No, we've seen a few of them
in
on
the-
this
in-
leg of the cruise so
A
far.
few on this cruise, but not in years past. I don't remember seeing many.
Yeah, Bob
Years
says he
past.
doesn't know what they're called either. Many polychaetes have two tentacles.
If we can come wide and pan to the right as well, there are a couple of other targets we want to take a look at here. Yep.
These mussels seem to be alive and happy.
Yeah, they do.
Certainly do. We're going to pan right now. There are a couple of other targets down to the lower right of the Little Herc field that we'd like to take a look at. Nice work on that zoom. That was nice. Let's take. It looks like we've got another small colony of mussels down to the lower right.
These rocks are interesting, and they look like they're burrow infills. It's kind of an open mesh texture to them.
Yeah, these
And
a lot of these carbonate hard ground deposits we've seen are heavily bioeroded. So and then you've got extensive incrustations on some of them. Not clear whether that's because of proximal release of gas or not. Yeah, that center small. Yeah, the first one, that brightly lit one that's not encrusted, and then we could pan right to the smaller outcrop. Right. Let's take a look at that. It'll give us an idea of the surface texture of that rock. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it gives you an excellent view of the kind of texture we're talking about. You're right. They look like exhumed burrows.
Yeah, it looks like it
with
formed
the
that
mud
way
in
rather
between
than
the burrows
yeah.
Washed out.
Right.
Right.
Could well be that the burrows themselves is a different chemical environment. You get carbonate concretions essentially forming within the burrows, and then they're eroded out, and you're seeing burrow structures. Very nice.
Right, a lot of them. I mean, there's more pathways for gas to get into the burrows as opposed to the mud, and then the rocks get exposed and the mud gets washed away.
Right.
So it looks like you're seeing casts of burrows.
Yep, could well be.
Here.
Certainly that's what they look like. Be hard to figure out a geological phenomenon that would be creating that texture.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's been bioeroded. These look like they're primary casts.
Yeah.
We've seen these many times.
Yep.
In fact, Chevron has a field that's producing from something like this. I've seen core from the subsurface.
Certainly plenty of primary porosity and permeability in this.
Yes, and lots of permeability. It was great production too.
Yep. Yeah.
But not very common.
Yeah, that tube there in the middle is like the same kind of tube that we saw that tentacle polychaete coming out of, but I don't see a worm in that one.
I think we can, come in a bit for 10, 15 seconds, and then we can come wide and pan right. Yeah, this is probably a rock that we're basically looking at a series of exhumed burrow casts. These are probably biologically produced rocks that, that's great. Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful example of biological condos. Got some squat lobsters there, shrimp, a variety of organisms using the natural, natural porosity of this rock to.
Kind of looks like an apartment complex for them, doesn't
It
it?
certainly does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very complex. You could imagine these animals have an easier time hiding from other predators inside a structure like this.
Yeah. They can get in and out easily and when they
Yeah.
want to.
I feel like the complexity of this rock rivals, corals almost.
Yeah, we haven't seen a carbonate hard ground of this type, at least that I remember so far on this leg. This is a different
Oh.
animal
On this
than
trip,
we've
huh?
seen. Yeah, I've not seen this yet.
I've never seen
I've
something like
got
this.
several big pieces of this type of rock, but I'm looking at one right now.
There's some little copepods swimming around there.
It makes great habitat, though.
Certainly does.
Yeah.
That's great work, gentlemen. So when
And,
you're ready, you can come wide. I'd like to pan right and down a bit. There's another target I want to take a look at.
Scale worm off to the left there. Is a type of polychaete worm.
Yeah, that smaller rock, it looks like the same. We may get some encrustation there, though. I just wanted to take a look. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we. It does look like a rock of generally similar origin, a little more covered with sediment.
It's a Chaseon crab there.
Great example
Hi.
of how the biology uses a rock like this for natural natural cover. Some staining suggestive of proximity to releasing fluids, but none. Haven't seen any bubbles.
No, but yeah, it's not only do these rocks provide some habitat, but there's all those little copepods swimming around that staining, so that might be a good food source for these animals too.
There you go.
And who knows what all that scum is there on top of that rock too.
Yeah,
Could be something living.
Yeah, this looks like an outcrop that's been exposed to the seafloor a bit longer than the one adjacent to it. A little bit more covered with pelagic or hemipelagic sediment. You can come wide at your pleasure, gentlemen, and I think we can come full wide and take a look around. Let's do a little bit more of a look around this depression, and then we'll move on.
I'm looking at the seismic right now in this area, and it's a little bit bigger than I had remembered. It's about 35 meters by 100 meters.
Yeah, we're seeing an enclosed, a complex enclosed depression on Little Herc. Sonar that is what, 10, 15 across, 22 across by some smaller dimension by about 20, 22 by 20, complex enclosed depression. So that generally jibes with what you're seeing from the surface.
Mm-hmm. and there does appear to be a small area, about half this size, that looks a little bit harder to the due east. So when we go east to go to waypoint 2, we might run across some more rock.
I'm ready when you're ready, gentlemen, to resume our pattern.
While we have the ship stuff, we do know there's the other target out ahead, right? Yep. Going left. 45 more.
As you can see on the little Herc camera, we are looking at a very uneven bottom, and that is confirmed by looking out in front of little Herc on our scanning sonar.
You can turn those lasers off again. Yeah.
15 meters straight ahead.
Thank you.
This is reminiscent of some of the topography we saw in the Biloxi Salt Dome, which was associated with broken pieces of hydrate at the surface. Very, very reminiscent of that kind of bottom topography.
Push on, still 15.
Looks like one little live muscle sticking out there.
Yeah, maybe we can get a zoom on those targets dead ahead of us when you're ready. Looks like we've got more outcrop behind as well.
Maybe some more muscles there on the right.
Yeah, it looks to me like on the lower right of the big outcrop, we're seeing more encrusting.
I'll just come up and look around for a second.
Roger that.
Similar texture to the rock, too. There's two small clumps.
Yeah, certainly in the foreground. In the background, the outcrop looks a bit different.
Yeah, it does. Right.
Yeah,
Sure.
I knew it.
Some kind of a nudibranch or
Bob Carney says the holothurian, a pelagic one.
pelagic holothurian. Yeah, it looks like more muscles down to the lower right.
So it looks basically like a single outcrop of muscles on one side.
Yeah, it looks like it. If we could get a zoom on the muscles, that'd be good. A nice view of that outcrop on the Sirius cam as well.
This is Okeanos video to everyone on the conference line and the OKX party line. If you could please just check your microphones and make sure they're actually muted unless you're actively speaking. We're hearing a little bit of a background conversation.
Yeah, this outcrop looks a little bit more massive. Looks a little bit less like the exhumed burrows that we saw earlier. Live mussels. They've been, we spent the entire dive yesterday on an extensive mussel bed in the Pascagoula Dome and saw both disseminated gas streams and concentrated gas associated with mussels on the seafloor. No sign of any bubble escape yet from this area.
Jamie, I thought I just saw bubbles escaping from the back side of this, but I could have been wrong.
Okay, well, that may be a good call, Tom. We'll take a look. We'll want to pan up, gentlemen. Tom Weber at CCOM thought he might have seen bubbles behind this outcrop, so we might want to take a look. In the background, yeah. We can zoom out a bit and take a look when you're ready. Roger that. Tube worms. Well, we might want to zoom in on that tube worm in the center field. Clearly living tube worms with the mussels. And a shrimp right behind the tube worm. That's a nice shot. Very nice. That's good, gentlemen. Whenever we can, once you're okay, video with this, we can come wide a bit. I want to look for bubbles behind this grouping. I don't think so. Might be copepods in the foreground swimming. Ah, sorry about that. Yeah, I see what you're seeing. Yeah, it would be good to take a look. Our primary goal today, as I have said before, is to try to identify locations of seeps along this dive track. We are not very far from the beginning of the dive, waypoint 1. Let's come up a bit and come wide a bit and see if we see any bubbles from behind this encrustation. Yeah, if we can come around the backside of this outcrop a bit, so make sure that we haven't missed something that might be coming up from under a ledge on the backside, if you've got room. It's nice work. Maybe you can pan right for me, just a little. That's great. That's what I'm after, right in there. I might want to zoom in that big overhanging ledge to the right. If we can center that and zoom on that, there are mussels right under it. I'd like to just take a closer look there. Not seeing any bubbles coming up in the serious cam. But let's take a look at this ledge anyway. Let's zoom in on it and take a closer look. This outcrop does look a bit different than the outcrops we saw initially, a little bit more massive. Not seeing any bubbles, but we're going to zoom in on that small outcrop of live mussels in that ledge right in front of us. Mussels, we have tube worms. Again, Perhaps you can pan up a bit and show me that ledge. You got a shrimp as well. Very nice. You can come in tighter if you need to. Yep, no worries. Some shrimp there doing the dance. Wonderful juxtaposition of different biology in a small space. Two worms, mussels, shrimp. And when you're ready, if you can pan up for me a bit, that would be good. Yeah, that's great. We're looking directly under that ledge now. I'm not seeing any formation of hydrate. I'm not seeing any bubble escape here. Beautiful view of these filter feeding bivalves, these mussels and tube worms. It's great, great shot under the ledge behind the mussels.
So now I'm gonna keep some horizontal down, put the tether up behind it.
Is that, Bob, is that an anemone? Are those an anemone encrusting the ledge on the underside? Hydroid of some kind? That's great, gentlemen. When you're ready, I can come wide. I think I've convinced myself that I'm not seeing any bubbles here.
Whenever you're ready, video. Good to take off.
And I think we're ready to move.
Keep lateral on you.
And if we've got tether for it, I'm fine with that.
Did you say wire?
Yeah, we do have a line here.
Center nice. Want it to the left of them? Sure. I see the fishing line.
Yeah, there we go. There's the line. Bob had spied it earlier.
Did I video? I didn't see that.
It's definitely a place to stay away from. So I'm ready, gentlemen. We can resume our our search when you're ready.
Okay. Come on, MC. Any more targets? No. Within tether range.
Yep, we can take a look. Got some high backscatter targets on our sonar, so this could be one of them. If you can give me a zoom on the outcrop, that'd be great.
Okay, video. Let's just try a zoom on here. Yep, another video taking place. Same view. Alright.
Similar to what we've seen, small communities of mussels, not a continuous bed of mussels and mussel shells as we saw yesterday on the Pascagoula Dome, but small communities of mostly live mussels here. I'm not seeing as much in the way of dead shells as we saw, or shells of dead mussels as we saw yesterday. These are mostly live organisms. Some relatively buried in sand. A lot of bacterial staining here. Looks like that line is pretty, looks like we've got a line of mussels there. It might be coming up along a seep of some kind, but we're not seeing any escaping gas.
We are looking at, we just checked out the navigation screen, and you are sitting right on top of the small hard ground there.
Yep, we certainly see evidence for high backscatter or high a number of bright targets on our Little Herc sonar.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go, gentlemen. When you are.
So now the danger is if we recross this area 3 or 4 times, it keeps.
We got this carbonate burrow cast,
So
just
on
been
the other side of that
colonized.
rock.
Obviously, seepage going from here, no water, no gas pipes.
Over here? Yeah. The far side that we couldn't see. Okay. What's the feeling on my survey start point now? You're out a little ways. Not bad. Get some up here. Should be fun.
Guys, I'd like to suggest that you keep the ship moving early, because we'll be out of tether by the time it gets down to surface. So when you start this moving, take note of how
This is Okeanos Explorer. We're getting underway again on our search area of a part of the seafloor south of the Biloxi Salt Dome. Our primary goal today is to look for naturally occurring seeps, bubble escape features. We're covering right now very interesting seafloor, a series of enclosed depressions with carbonate hard grounds and encrusting mussel organisms and ecosystems. We've stopped and looked at some of these in detail, and we're getting underway now en route to our second waypoint, which is on the order of 800 meters away. This is the Okeanos Explorer.
Did you say we were getting underway to our second waypoint, Jamie?
Well, we're getting underway towards our second waypoint.
Okay.
We're still
We've
quite
got a
close to
relatively narrow
waypoint
swath
one.
through here so far.
We're not more than a few tens of meters from waypoint one. Roger that. Thank you. Crossing these irregularly shaped depressions. We've already investigated one of these in detail. They appear to be floored with occasionally small outcrops of variously textured carbonate rocks. Some of them are encrusted, many of them are encrusted with live mussel groups. We're looking for naturally occurring seeps. We have not as yet seen any. We're moving Sirius ahead slowly along with the Okeanos Explorer, and we're sweeping back and forth with Little Herc to try and examine an area back and forth across our track. Seafloor visibility today is hampered a bit by the amount of marine snow in the water, but we're about 2 to 3 meters above the seafloor with Herc, and we're getting reasonable visibility. coming across an outcrop we've actually seen before. Got multiple targets on the Little Herc sonar. These are the ridges of these closed depressions. Got some bright echoes that are these small outcrops of hard grounds. Seeing the occasional coil of line, probably fishing line, something we very much want to stay away from with our vehicles. We had a long line get tangled in the Big Herc vehicle on Nautilus last year in the Mediterranean, and it fouled one of the thrusters, and it took us a long time to disentangle the ROV from that line, plastic line with hooks. Got it on deck successfully, but then it took a while, and we actually had damaged one of the props of one of the thrusters with this line. Some more of this complex ridge depression topography. Got variably stained seafloor. In other areas this week we've seen this associated with escape of bubbles, but we have not as yet today seen any bubble escape. Away from these outcrops, we have not seen a lot of biology. Most of the mussels we've seen today are living mussels. Not saw many dead shells yesterday on the Pascagoula Dome. Going to pan left there, gentlemen, and show me that. Yeah, I'd like to get a zoom of that outcrop, if we could, please. Tube worm.
Certainly tubes, and I would guess that those are definitely tube worms.
Video, you're free to zoom.
Yep, that's what they look like. Squat lobsters all over that outcrop. Not much in the way of mussel incrustation on this particular spot.
No, I think I see two down at the bottom
Oh,
there.
yeah, maybe so. Yep, I agree with you.
On the bottom left. Yeah, and it looks like there are some shells embedded in this carbonate. We see that sometimes, where the shells maybe got buried and then the carbonate sort of formed around them.
Yep. Well, a lot of these rocks are chemically precipitated, so that wouldn't be surprising at all that you would see mollusk remains embedded in the rock itself.
Can you zoom on that top tube worm there, on its head? I think it is lamellobrachia. I think I see its lamellae sticking out of there. Thanks. Yep. Lamellobrachia.
Yeah, it's a great view. Living quite happily on that outcrop, or at least if one can interpret tube worms as being happy, that's
looks happy.
Yep.
And those anemones look pretty happy to be on it too. They almost look like not separate anemones because they're so thick there.
So that's what that collar is on the tube worm, or anemones?
I think so.
Fascinating.
It's kind of hard to tell, but yeah,
that's
you can
good.
move
Yep,
on whenever.
we can absolutely. We're ready. Yes, we are. Thank you. It's always astounding to me when we zoom in how complex these ecosystems are in space, how many different types of organisms are living in close proximity. Another tube worm there in the lower part of the view.
We were just talking about the geophysics here, and it may be that these rocks, you see how porous they are. It may be that porosity is giving us a weaker signal, more subtle, because they're very subtle.
You think so? Or do you think that these rocks are just too small? You think if they were more solid, you would get a
yeah, I mean,
stronger signal?
we're not seeing massive outcrops as well,
Right.
also, but we are seeing a very subtle, positive anomaly, meaning it's a little bit harder than the surrounding muds. We would never have picked them out in the past, but it means we got more work to do, because I just circle up about 5 more of these in the area that look very similar, and they're probably they probably have these types of porous outcrops, small patches. I mean, we've seen sites, we've gone to sites on other dives, as you know, Aaron, that are massive and huge and
kind of-
very easy to see. That's a shark?
No, it's a chimera,
Is it? Okay.
according to Bob Carney. And I believe I've seen these kind of things come up in trawls before. And if I'm not mistaken, these are the ones that have a poisonous spike on the top of them that you have to be careful of.
Looks like it has a beak, huh?
And we're also right next to a patch of mussels, living mussels there on our left.
His fins look like wings, don't they?
Yeah.
No other discrete targets on your sonar to correlate to that. So based on camera view and sonar view, this or further off to Sirius's left will be the persistent target.
Seeing some more carbonate hard grounds.
Pretty consistent.
Still haven't seen any bubbles being released from the seafloor. This carbonate in front of us looks pretty big relative to the ones that we've seen so far. I think some live mussels underneath it there. And I think also some mussels off there to the left in that depression. I feel like there's some mussels kind of clinging to the side of that carbonate, just sort of hanging off the edge there.
Are those living, Aaron? Or are they dead?
I think so. Let's
The ones on the carbonate.
if you can we zoom in on those mussels that are on the edge of that rock?
How's our speed going there for both?
Well, I'm facing almost north.
I'm gonna guess that those are living mussels because they
Would you like the ship to stop
are still hanging on, first of all. And
so long as stable?
they'd let go and fall to the bottom, wouldn't they? If they
I
were,
would think so. Yeah, yeah. So you can see their living, their siphons sticking out, and they look living and happy. I think that these are, if I had to make a guess, Bethemodiolus childresi species. And there's two worms sticking out there on the left too. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that they're alive. You can zoom out whenever.
so there must be some natural seepage going on.
Yeah, they must, and they're able to access that seepage all the way up there. So, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's kind of climbing up around the edge of that rock.
But those are mussels down on the floor. Too.
Yeah, there's a lot of living mussels right there. This is the biggest mussel patch that we've seen so far. So,
Right.
might want to investigate around that carbonate there on our right to look for bubbles. Oh, oh yeah, there we go. Good eye. Some bubbles.
I mean, it is possible that the bubble size is too small for us to see. In some cases, oh, there they are. Those are big ones.
We did see them a moment ago.
I know. Where'd they go, Aaron?
I don't know. They're very easy to see when they're when you're at the right angle and you see them against the background of just the dark blue deep sea water.
Very sneaky.
Where are we relative to that rock with mussels on it? Are we to the right of it now?
We were to the left of the mussel.
Right.
Might be wrong.
That's where I'm wondering where we are. Oh, okay. All right. You're right. So there's the mussels. Yep. So we're going to go back to that and then drive forward the way we did. Oh, there they are. Okay, so that was the back edge of it.
So, Aaron, when it's convenient, if we could get the lasers on and zoom in on the source like we like to do to try to estimate their size, that would be fantastic.
Sure. Whenever it's convenient for you, we'd like to get the lasers on and then zoom in on the source of the bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I take a break for 10 minutes and Aaron finds the bubbles. Never fails. Never fails.
She's pretty good at it.
Very good.
The pilot saw the bubbles before I did. I wanted to look at this mussel patch over here, but
Well, they've been a good indicator of where bubbles might be, so that's not a bad plan.
and they were picked up on sonar.
Getting collective credit assumption here for this bubble stream.
You know, when you think about it, we just found about a 2 or 3 millimeter bubble in 1,730 meters of water. That's not bad.
No, it's pretty impressive. But I agree with Dave. These Sirius sector scanning sonar is a pretty good indicator of bubbles in the water about 15, 20 meters above the seafloor.
Oh yeah, how lucky is it that we have that technology that can see bubbles?
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Well, yes.
Technology at work. Technology and trained eyeballs.
Just seems like there should be more gas than we're seeing to keep all those mussels happy.
Well, so as Bob has said time and again, the mussels, they really need the gas to be dissolved in the water. So just because we don't see bubbles of it escaping doesn't mean there isn't lots of it in the water, dissolved there, just
Okay,
kind of
Dissolved
seeping
in
out.
the water.
okay.
Look at this guy. Okay.
Okay.
I was surprised to see the mussels so high up, though, because we always think that methane that's in the water would get diluted really quickly above the surface.
Yeah, it's clearly an area where nutrient flow
that's
exists.
what's happening.
We're not seeing much in the way of dead shells here. We're seeing mostly live colonies of mussels where we see them. So there is food source here for pretty diverse biology.
Yeah, we can see really extensive mussel beds and no bubbles of gas leaking out necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, the
Mm,
one
I
we
just
were on, the
saw
mussel
bubbles
colony
here.
we were on yesterday was extensive and not a lot of bubbles considering how extensive the biology was carpeting the seafloor.
Sure.
The idea here is that we're identifying exactly where the bubbles are leaving the seafloor. As we have done earlier this week, we're actually going to zoom in then and spend a little time trying with the video to get us a time series of bubble rate of escape and size so that can be assessed post dive back on the beach. Probably got a pretty good rate of escape here though in front of us.
So, Jamie, you said you guys picked this up in Sirius pretty well?
Yeah, Dave to my left here has been having a pretty good time seeing them on Sirius. When you get a bubble stream like this, they show up pretty well on Sirius sector scanning.
So
Yeah,
how
this is
many
Dave
little
here.
sources
This,
are there? 3, 4?
This sonar runs at
Oh,
385
I certainly
kilohertz. so
certainly
it's about a
see one
See?
big one, and the
3.8
other one to the upper left is a
millimeter
second.
wavelength.
I'm not
Right, and
seeing
I think there's one
not seeing-
closer to us that releases one every now and again. I can see a bubble forming in it now.
right.
Cool. Right there.
The
There
very
it goes.
bottom of the screen.
That's good. And are we too close for the lasers? I guess we are. Sure. Oh, no problem. That's great.
Oh, that's great.
And you can see a little hydrate, I think, forming around the edge of that bubble escape feature just in the center view. I would wager that's probably hydrate.
Would it be possible to land?
Yeah, and Aaron's exactly right. There's another vent in the foreground.
Yeah. And here too.
I don't know, you can suggest.
So we're seeing at least three
yeah. At least 3,
locations.
maybe 4.
I don't know what that sediment is. It might stir up if I'm just, it looks soft, but it might be well worth it.
Oh, I think it's quite soft. But you don't know what kind of hydrate formation there's been below the seafloor. You might actually run into ice. What we've seen in some of these closed depressions elsewhere is that you've actually got hydrate blocks partially buried and sometimes completely exposed to the seafloor.
I was going to give, I'm just letting go get their average positions.
Video, did we come wide for a reason? Are we getting recentered or are we? Okay. Yeah, because I think we do want some more time on those escape. Right, roger that.
Watch this is nav at the front left. Do we have a convention or a numbering count of our seats?
Oh, that's a good question.
Naming convention.
I mean, we've identified 4 thus far. Tom, do you want to identify this with a particular number? This would be SEEP 5 as far as I would be concerned. We identified 4 elsewhere.
A polychaete there in
Yeah,
the
I think
foreground.
that sounds like a nice idea.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it
SEEP 5
consecutively. Let's call it SEEP 05.
This done?
Great, thank you.
Yep, that's nice big polychaete running around there. Yep. Yeah, video is just observing that over there to the left you can see some holes. Maybe those were old bubble escape holes too.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It could be animal holes too, but I wouldn't doubt they were both, either of those.
And what is the organism we're seeing in the foreground?
It's a polychaete worm. I don't know what type. Pretty cool checking out that hole right there.
Bob mentions that it's got its jaws extended. And so is it investigating, or is that would that be a place where that polychaete lives? No, it's actually traversing the area, isn't it?
The only time I have to come up is if I pass on route to see something like that.
Yeah, all those little things swimming around are copepods, which are just really tiny little crustaceans.
Probably got a pretty good rate of escape here, though, in front of us.
So, Jamie, you said you guys picked this up in Sirius pretty well?
Yeah, Dave to my left here has been having a pretty good time seeing them on Sirius. When you get a bubble stream like this, they show up pretty well on Sirius sector scanning.
So
Yeah,
how
this is
many
Dave
little
here.
sources
This,
are there? 3, 4?
This sonar runs at
Oh,
385
I certainly
kilohertz. so
certainly
it's about a
see one
See?
big one, and the
3.8
other one to the upper left is a
millimeter
second.
wavelength.
I'm not
Right, and
seeing
I
the.
think there's one
not seeing-
closer to us that releases one every now and again. I can see a bubble forming in it now.
Right.
Cool. Right there.
The
There.
very bottom of the screen.
That's good. And are we too close for the lasers? I guess we are. Sure. Oh, no problem. That's great.
Oh, that's great.
And you can see a little hydrate, I think, forming around the edge of that bubble escape feature just in the center view. I would wager that's probably hydrate.
Would it be possible to land?
Yeah, and Aaron's exactly right. There's another vent in the foreground.
Yeah. And here too.
I don't know. You can suggest it.
Yeah, so we're seeing at least three,
yeah. At least 3,
locations.
maybe 4.
I don't know what that sediment is. It might stir up if I'm just. It looks soft, but it might be well worth it.
Oh, I think it's quite soft. But you don't know what kind of hydrate formation there's been below the seafloor. You might actually run into ice. What we've seen in some of these closed depressions elsewhere is that you've actually got hydrate blocks partially buried and sometimes completely exposed to the seafloor.
I was going to give, I'm just waiting until we get more average positions.
Video, did we come wide for a reason? Are we getting recentered, or are we? Okay. Yeah, because I think we do want some more time on those escape. Right, roger that.
Watch this is at the front left. Do we have a convention or a numbering count of our seats?
Oh, that's a good question.
Naming convention.
I mean, we've identified 4 thus far. Tom, do you want to identify this with a particular number? This would be SEEP 5 as far as I would be concerned. We identified 4 elsewhere.
A polychaete there in
Yeah,
the
I think
foreground.
that sounds like a nice idea.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it
SEEP 5.
consecutively. Let's call it SEEP 05.
This done?
Great, thank you.
Yep, that's nice big polychaete running around there. Yeah, video is just observing that over there to the left you can see some holes. Maybe those were old bubble escape holes too.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It could be animal holes too, but I wouldn't doubt they were both, either of those.
And what is the organism we're seeing in the foreground?
It's a polychaete worm. I don't know what type. Pretty cool checking out that hole right there.
Bob mentions that it's got its jaws extended. And so is it investigating, or is that would that be a place where that polychaete lives? No, it's actually traversing the area, isn't it?
The only time you have to come up is if I pass on route to see something.
Yeah, all those little things swimming around are copepods, which are just really tiny little crustaceans. I see something up there here that's, I think, maybe some kind of a tube worm or some kind of a worm living in a tube. Sticks its head out and flails around once in a while.
This would have been a good place for the grid experiment, but the grid is up here on the ship. But the great thing about diving on the seafloor is that you always leave the seafloor knowing that you've got further work to do, and this is a good example of that.
Yeah, I think this work generates more questions than it answers in general.
Yeah, and that's
not a bad thing.
It's one of the fun things about this. Yeah, I think I've got it as 3+ minutes. Tom, do you feel like you have enough here?
Yeah, I think this is probably good, Jamie. That's really great. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Fantastic stuff.
Gentlemen, when you're ready, we can move on.
Yeah. What is that thing?
I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, there was some kind of
It's a flag,
animal
waving a flag.
flailing around there,
It was
and then it just went away.
a distress signal. That's great. That was great. Some kind of a filter feeding device, yes.
Could be, or deposit feeding, meaning that it just eats stuff that's
Right.
settled onto the seafloor. Ah, there's, wait, right in there.
That wasn't the flag waver we saw up to the upper right, though.
No,
That
something
was
different.
That's a
but
different,
just kind of
another worm of some kind, maybe.
a trasher, Bob says. I've never heard of that.
Nope. I think we can go, guys. I think we're ready to go here.
Watch it while the ship is stopped. And then you decide to go back to launch muscle pad.
Oh, if we've got while we're getting underway, sure. Yep.
Alright, Carl. We got 10 minutes to look at the muscle patch here. Carl, you good?
Or, sorry, Bob had
Roger
corrected
that.
himself.
Thank you.
Thrasher, that makes more sense.
Yeah, we're going to take a look now at this rather large mussel incrustation. Some pretty good-sized mussels when the shells are exhumed at the seafloor. They're pretty good-sized.
So yeah, just a reminder, we do have one physical marker on board here. I don't know if
I think we'll leave that. I think we're going. I think we
hold on to it for
we
now.
envision that we've got one or two sizable gas escape structures.
Yep.
Good view of the bubbles now in the water column. I think we're going to hold on the physical marker
Sure.
unless. That was a good call while I was gone, though. Very nice. I think dead ahead of us that the incrustation on the outcrop would be a good place to take a look. I'm always intrigued when these exactly left center of your field. And no longer than we need to get underway, and then we'll move on.
Watch Lead Ship is already underway.
Well, let's take a quick look, and if we've got time.
Good size range there. Looks like a lot of little guys. So
We don't have a good sense of growth rates on these,
No.
do we?
So no, we don't. So we don't know if those little guys are, maybe they're old and they're just small. But
That's me.
it would indicate
That's
to
me.
me that there's maybe some recruitment happening here. Although I don't see little tiny baby ones.
Old and small is me, so that's
Like-
that's
Yeah,
there you go. Muscles are like people. You're saying.
right. There's some pretty little ones right there in the center of the screen now. So, that suggests to me that new muscles are being recruited here. It's not just old ones that have been here forever and are hanging on.
Right. If we need to move, gentlemen, we can move.
Let's go wide and do a bit of a flyover here, and then we'll.
Pretty extensive
Yeah.
bed here. This is the biggest patch we've seen. Most of them look living, I guess, Aaron? Yes?
Yeah, it's pretty big and mostly alive mussels here.
And Bill and company, that's a pretty good indication to us that we're seeing a pretty sizable nutrient source in the sediments here. May not translate to bubbles, but that doesn't mean that the nutrients aren't here.
Yeah, those rocks back there are interesting. I don't know what all this white stuff is that's all over them.
Yeah, that would be good. There are a lot of white patches. I agree with Aaron. They're a little different than what we've seen unless they're encrusting organisms of some
I'm going to
kind.
guess that they are something biological.
Yeah.
Just based on their positioning. Maybe
Big crab.
wait till we look at it to make a guess.
Are those encrusting anemones or what?
Well, I would, if there's some kind of crusting, no, a sponge.
Sponge? Sponges, perhaps. Yeah, interesting.
As you can see, in some of them, you can see the opening. That is basically their feeding cavity or where they
I don't remember.
shoot water
I don't
out
remember
of.
seeing much of these before.
No,
on
this
our
is the first
dives.
time we've seen a bunch of them here.
Very nice call.
These are filter feeding organisms. So, must be something to filter feed upon here.
That's great, gentlemen. If you need to move,
Thanks.
a really large incrustation of sponges right
Yeah,
there,
a lot.
and not typical because you look in the background and they're not there. So
No.
something is favoring their development there that isn't elsewhere. Big crevice in the rocks there. A lot of topography in the rocks themselves here. And we're seeing a lot of bright targets on the little Herc sonar. So
Right. This is some of the most massive carbonates we've seen so far. Some dark staining there. Right center.
extensive staining of the seafloor. Sometimes associated with biology and just what we just looked at, a place where there is no biology that we can see.
Yeah, so we're climbing up a hill at the moment.
Fascinating how some parts of the seafloor are heavily encrusted, some are not. Some burrows here, but very little encrusting organisms. Some big depressions, though. Big depression off to the right. Yeah, that's a good altitude, guys. I mean, that gives us a good view. Sweeping back and forth and occasionally coming up and then back down is a good technique too. It gives us a little closer look at things we're interested in. I think when we're crossing these big depressions, keeping a little more altitude is good so we can look down and into them. But fairly common in the center of these depressions to see these small hard ground.
Yep, little mussel patch there.
Yep.
Yep, some tube worms around here coming
Oh,
out
yeah.
from under those carbonates.
Got a big colony
And
of tube worms to the center right in our
right.
view now.
Whole bunch of them there.
That's one of the biggest concentrations we've seen. I think we want to get a zoom here, gentlemen.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's lots and lots of those little copepods.
Oh my!
Tons.
Oh, look at that! That's amazing. That's great.
Yes, and at least
Got
some of these tube worms are lamellobrachia.
We got shrimp as
Wow.
well.
Shrimp, and I mean, those things are covered with stoloniferans, which are a little colonial cnidarian. The tubes of these worms, that is.
Fantastic! Look at that. Wonderful. Just a swarm of copepods. That's incredible. It's a forest of tube worms. It's fantastic. Very photogenic.
I think that both species are here, lamellobrachia, what we call lamellobrachia species 1 from the lower slope, and Escarpia laminata.
And what is the primary discerning difference between those two? The worm itself. I mean, the worm itself, or the nature of the shell, or
Well,
the tube.
sometimes you can tell by the tube, but that's questionable. The worms that are sticking out, you can see on lamellobrachia, they have these lamellae, which are kind of
Right.
like little flaps of skin, for better
Right.
lack of better term. And I thought that I saw lamellobrachia in Escarpia because it had those little, what we call capworms, but it's that parasitic worm that we talked about on another dive. We've only seen them on that species of tube worm, Escarpia.
And the worms themselves, the tubes themselves are chitinous. Is that
That's
right?
right. Yep. The tubes are made out of chitin.
We are. Excellent job, though, gentlemen. Fantastic.
Yeah, there's really a lot of. Yes, I would say so. Well, there's certainly a lot of food there because those copepods are eating something, maybe, I don't know, suspended bacteria or something like that in the water column. And there are lots of suspension feeding animals too, so those
Yep, absolutely.
stoloniferans, for example. And some mussels there on the right side of that ring.
Yeah, you can see that how those tube worms follow that nutrient flow. They're out and around the edge of that outcrop. So whatever is coming up to feed the base of the food chain there, they're taking advantage of that. It's fantastic. It's a beard. It's a beard on that carbonate hard ground. That's excellent, gentlemen. That's what I'm after. We're moving along at a couple of meters above the seafloor. Gives us a chance to take a look if we need to. And something really interesting happens, we can always stop. But this is what we're after doing this. And then we go out into a slightly burrowed but featureless seafloor, almost immediately. How patchy it is, fantastic.
Where is that? How far that is 65. Clear. How far are you back up to? 55.
You know, Jamie, given how featureless this place looks from the multi-beam data, it's really amazing to see all this structure down here.
Well, you know, and it makes you realize that, you know, there's a limit to how much the multi-beam can pick up of this small scale topography, which is the real meat of an ROV dive.
Right, right. A very nice complementary.
Yeah,
ability.
it's what we call nested observational systems. You know, the work we've done with the Navy acoustically. I mean, we're constantly amazed as we move up and down the scale of resolution that we're never short of things to talk about.
Yeah, the bigger pale muscles. That's good.
Some more, another dense aggregation of little tube worms. And
But what's the white organism up
those
to the
are
upper?
mussels. They just have a white.
No, the white. Oh, are they mussels? But they're
Yep.
just encrusted with these, with the
Something.
the white staining.
Right.
Fascinating.
Which again, we kind of think that that is a precipitate because when you collect those mussels, it doesn't seem biological, as in we don't see filaments. It just.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's lots and lots of copepods around here. Not quite as extreme as that last one that we looked at, but also a lot of suspension feeding organisms, little colonial cnidarians, all over that rock.
Video wants to have a good shot. Put it on. If you want me to fire it, or if you want to zoom out.
Very nice. Very nice views, gentlemen. Fantastic diversity here. Look like a small basket sponge there on the left too. That was a more tube worms to the left. Again, following what looked to be lineated features in the subsurface, probably related to escape of nutrients.
Yeah, this is the most dense little clumps of tube worms we've seen.
Oh, by far. I mean, we've seen some tube worms associated with other organisms, but we're seeing forests of tube worms on this dive.
There's a dense patch of tube worms with mussels mixed in.
And you can see how the tube worms follow crevices in the outcrop. It's great. Wonderful example of that here. Natural crevices would be zones of nutrient escape, and clearly that's how the organisms are colonizing this area, looking for gaps in the outcrops. Exploration, folks. That's what we're doing. Exploration. It's a lot of fun. Big tube worms off to the right.
Yeah, most of these clumps are fairly small individuals. Not really tiny, but we would say on the younger side. Especially because they're mixed in with mussels. So I would say that these are earlier successional stages in seeps, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
That's Sandy going on.
What's young for a seep? I mean, for a tube
Yeah,
worm.
that's a good question. What is young for a tube worm? Since these animals can live to be 500 years old.
Is that right?
It's a good.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
500
maybe something like 30 years old is pretty young for a tube worm. I don't know.
Wow. 500 years old. And how have they been able to determine that they're that old? What does one do with a tube worm to determine its age?
So these ones on the lower slope, we actually haven't, determined that for these particular species. But on the upper Louisiana slope, we use a size growth model. So basically, you collect a bunch of worms, you measure the size of lots of them, and then what we also did, or what the researchers that did this also did, was they stained the tops of their tubes. So because they're made out of chitin, they readily take up this blue stain, alizarin.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd stain them and you leave them there for a year. And then you come back and collect them, and you can measure how much they grew because the stain is there, and then the white part above the stain is the new tube that's grown.
Right.
So you basically just measure a whole bunch of them, their total length. And
So it's a growth ring
Yep.
kind of a situation.
And then you measure how much they grew, and there's a relationship between, how old they are and how fast they grow and everything. And you can use a mathematical model to extend out how old they are.
Of course, I'm shrinking, so that this could begin to be an issue. They get too old. Do they grow until the end of their life, or do they do as humans do, and some start to actually shrink as they get old?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they shrink, but I think that they start to grow more slowly as they get older.
Fascinating. 500 years old. Amazing. With a single view of a single outcrop for 500 years.
So these are some more, what I surmise
These are
are
the lamella
yeah,
branks. Yeah.
lamellibranchia. And
Branchia.
I think these guys are, maybe this is an older clump that they're just kind of hanging on. They're a little bigger than the other guys, not quite as vibrant.
They look like they're shrinking.
Sticking out of that rock. Looks like they're shrinking.
Well, that's certainly, I'm familiar with that phase. My colleague Aaron Becker is going off for lunch, so that you are going to have to deal now with a non-biology biology input for the moment. But we are seeing more tube worms, real forests of them, discrete clumps that appear to be following fissures in the underlying outcrops. We're seeing a lot of outcrop topography here. Some of it sedimented, some of it not. Yeah. I don't know. It's a good. Can we get a zoom? Can we get a zoom on the center? I don't think it's fishing line.
It is the morphology of linguini. It looks
Right.
flat.
Right. Bob Carney is not sure what this is. I don't think it's line. I think it's biological, but I'm not sure what it is. Got shrimp living inside it. I don't think it's man-made. Eric Cordes suggests that this could be detritus from somewhere, perhaps the surface, but nobody's. Look at the copepods in front of it, though. Masses and masses of copepods. Fantastic. That's great, gentlemen. We can move on. Thank you. Some relatively rough topography here. Seeing some sedimented seafloor, but we're seeing hard grounds pretty consistently at the surface. Coming up on another area of staining, looks like another area of outcrops. So we'll get some areas of flatter, slightly burrowed seafloor, and then interspersed with that are these pavement-like outcrops that have fractures and fissures, and along those fissures we're seeing encrusting biology. Got some live mussels off to the left. These are relatively sedimented outcrops. They're not all fresh. I mean, some of them are partially buried with sediment. Yeah, that's a good. Tube worms and mussels off to the right there. Yeah, we've got a speaker open somewhere. I plead ignorance. Ah, there we go. Two worms to the left. We are seeing again scattered outcrops, staining. From our high-pack map, from our multi-beam map, it's pretty clear that we're looking at the resolution of the existing multi-beam. We're seeing hummocky seafloor on a large scale. Those hummocks are translating into the small scale as well in the visual field. Occasional burrows. No outcrops at all here now. This is the Okeanos Explorer. We're making our way slowly to the northeast. We've set out an 800-meter track for this dive. This is dive 6 of leg 3 of the Okeanos Explorer expedition to the northern Gulf of Mexico. Our primary objective for this recon dive is to look for naturally occurring seeps of gas. We have found one of those seeps thus far this morning, and we're in the process of moving slowly with Sirius at about 1/10 of a knot. We're sweeping back and forth with Little Herc, looking at the seafloor. That's what you're doing. That's what we're doing now, and we'll be doing that for the duration of the dive. This is the Okeanos Explorer. Bob, is that an eel or a fish? Looks more like an eel. Bob tells me that it's an eel, but an eel is a fish. Well, that's fair enough. Holothurian, perhaps? Oh, maybe not. I don't know. Is it a... No, it's another. No, I don't know what that. It's a fish, some kind. It's a halosaur, according to Mike Vecchione. It's an eel. Great, gentlemen. Thank you. Highly pockmarked seafloor. Some of this is biological. Some of it could be caused by movement of fluids. It's probably mostly biological. Somebody from Eric Cordes' lab, Andrea, calls it an ophidioform. You'd have to help me there, Andrea. Explain what that is.
What's this swimming thing? Is this a holothurian too? Oh, jellyfish. Ah, yes. Quite obviously jelly. Swimming down into the sediment, it looks like. Some more burrowing anemones there. These little dark red spiky things. I'm going to guess so. So the question was, can these anemones, since they're burrowing, can they lift themselves up if the sediment, gets a little too deep? I would think so. I think, anemones can move, so. Even ones you see stuck on rocks can detach themselves from rocks and move somewhere else. Yep, looks like a large magid type crab. There's a fish there. Another halosaur, that kind of fish. Thanks, Mike. It's another fish. Is that a rat tail kind of fish? Yes, a rat tail, as Mike confirmed there. It's interesting how most of these deep sea fish have very little tail. It just kind of tapers off at the end there. I believe somebody told me once that that's maybe an energy thing or a vibration thing, maybe making less vibrations in the water so they can sneak up on prey in the dark. What do they eat down here? Well, you guys saw a fish eat a shrimp. Yes, that was on one of the highlight reels. Otherwise, I'm not sure. That would be a question for any fish biologists out there on the chat room. Can give me a clue about that. I'm curious too. So Mike says that those rat tail fish, like the one we just saw, are predators and scavengers, so they opportunistically eating stuff that's living and stuff that's dead and lying on the seafloor. Another fish? Is this another halosaur? Or the same one? Are we? Okay. Yep, another halosaur. It's Mike confirmed. Oh, nice. Also notice that there aren't very many brightly colored fish down here. Obviously it's dark, so they don't have any purpose to be brightly colored. See mostly kind of black and gray, kind of grayish, whitish. Once in a while, an orange one.
In front of us on the pilot cam, and it's now coming into view on Little Herc. It certainly appears to be a pipeline, and it is in this location at the at the seafloor and above the seafloor. We saw a bright echo in the sector scanning sonar for of Little Herc, and that appears to be some kind of a coupling in the pipe in front of us. Yeah, let's follow it. We won't linger, but we'll. Is it actually above the seafloor there?
Yeah,
looks like
looks
it
like
is.
it.
Looks like it is.
It looks like in some places it's on mounds of sediment, and then others it's kind of dug out.
Well, it may in fact
And there are two of them.
be suspended. It may be on footings. It looks like it is on footings. We are in the northern Gulf of Mexico. There is a lot of infrastructure related to the delivery of hydrocarbons from structures of various kinds, rigs, wells, to both collection facilities offshore and to collection facilities onshore. And this appears to be one of those features. This is an exploration dive. We fully expect in a mature oil and gas province like the Gulf of Mexico to come across features like this. It's not why we're here, but we are taking a little bit of a look at it as a naturally occurring, not naturally occurring, but anthropogenically occurring feature on the seafloor. It's always interesting to see one of these features close up. Then we'll move on.
So yeah, and looking at it closer, I think that it's not suspended above the seafloor. It's got sediment piled right up next to it. There's just a trench next to it. I think it was kind of an optical illusion.
It could be. It clearly has had a trench. It's got a trench associated with it. You can see some debris associated with that trench. When you're ready, gentlemen, we can move on.
Looks like a little burrow right in the middle of those two linear features there.
Although it doesn't appear that the pipeline itself is encrusted, so it probably has not been here very long. Mother Nature doesn't do straight lines as well as man does. It's always a pretty good indication of something man-made as opposed to a naturally occurring object. And we move on. This is the Okeanos Explorer. Small, there's a skate in front of us there. Much more active.
These fish.
Right. Some of our guys are so loyal though. We had one kid, I swear, he must have been on watching us, and we were, we would be on the seafloor 24 hours at times, and he would just be there the whole time.
Doesn't want to miss anything.
Right? Exactly. No, exactly.
You never know.
Exactly. Sneak up on him.
Yeah, it's another rat tail fish.
Whoop.
Oh no.
Well, he got a feeling we were watching him, and that was it. The end.
Or a hake, a different kind of fish.
That's a hake. Cut paper with them. That's how sharp they were. No problem. And they'd been in the sediment for many, many a moon. And I could have collected bucket loads of these teeth and brought them out every day. They didn't care. Texas Gulf Sulphur didn't care. Well, not bad, boys. It's a good-looking fish.
Is that hard to pronounce fish again?
Ophiodid.
Ophiodoid.
Ophiodoid.
Ophiodoid, yeah. That's how you say it probably.
Ophidioid. There's no
What?
Ophidioid.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Ophidioid. Yep. Lots of ways to emphasize the syllable.
Thanks to Mike Vecchione for that. Believe me, I would not. Oh, is that the what the whale that the megalodon is chasing? Yeah. Well, I've been in the water. I was in the water with a white shark once, and let me tell you, and not a huge one, about 12 feet long, but let me tell you, you don't want to see me in the water with a 40-foot one. No way. That's a good-looking fish, as fish go, and that's a hake or ophioid. Ophidioid, but it's a hake. Is that?
I'm not sure. Oh yeah, you're right.
It's a hake. See them a lot around wrecks. Well, and by the way, for you Okeanos Explorer fans, we'll be doing a wreck dive tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. We're looking forward to that.
Okay, so yeah, just to clarify that.
Cusk eel.
Cusk eel.
That was my next guess. Now, what is that? That looks like a larger. Is that a shell or is that a man-made object?
It looks like man-made object because doesn't it look kind of green and
no,
a little too round to be biological?
It looks like the lid of something or a plate or
a hubcap or a bucket lid
or a treasure chest.
Nope. Bucket lid.
No, I think it's a bucket lid. I think, unfortunately. Yep. That looks, but it's colonized, so it's been there a while. That seafloor is small anemones or hydroids. Interesting. So it's part of the substrate. Bob asks if it's brass. Could be, Bob. Certainly has got that patina to it. Couldn't tell whether it was. One of the nice things about the big herc, which we will someday have on Okeanos, is that we have arms on big herc where that allow us to actually sometimes pick something up and take a look. It's the right kind of chocolate, and it's got a lot of orange to it. Oh, there's one of the witch's hats right there. That's great.
Yeah, right.
That's great. I like that. ROV nav, John, we're once we get around the waypoint, we're going to do a little search pattern around the waypoint. They anticipate seeing some kind of gas escape there, so we've got at least 20 or 30 minutes left in the dive when we get to waypoint 2, so we're going to do a little look around.
Another skate?
That looks like it's another skate for sure. Maybe it's the same one. Could have just followed us along here. It's taken us a number of hours to go 800 meters, so.
You think it's the same one? Beat us here?
Could be. One would be hard pressed to prove otherwise.
It's my fancy grocery store weakness. Go there and buy, $7 chocolate bar.
Oh, that's true. But of course, the fantasy is if it's more expensive, you're going to eat it less fast. That is not. Of course, that is not true.
Some dark and light staining again here. Pretty extensive. Still not seeing any rocks.
Keep an eye on Sirius. This one right here, Jeff. Right. Hey, do you want to see bubbles? Dave said they picked up the bubbles on Sirius this one earlier today. So,
This bacterial mat again. So you see the white and the orange kind. Another fish. Skate again. poor Skeet. He keeps going the same way as us.
Well, that's it. I mean, you know, he's just been leading the way, scaring away the vents. A fine thing to find. Or else, heads will roll.
It's definitely the direction it looks like it. Yeah, definitely off to the right side of the screen, not to the left side of the screen. More broken shells.
Yeah, lots of shells here now.
And now we're talking. Now we're talking.
This patch right here, where it gives now is waypoint 2.
We're on it, huh? We're crossing waypoint 2 now, Tom, by our best estimation. So the idea here, gentlemen, is to do a pretty good box survey around this area and convince ourselves we've covered ground. I would say take waypoint 2 as the center of a circle and give us at least a radius of 50 meters. This is very extensive staining now. Look at this. Wow,
Yeah.
we haven't seen this. And no biology to speak of. Bubbles out on Sirius sector scanning sonar, 22.5 out.
Come right at your head. See 'em?
I wouldn't say there's no biology per se.
You
Just
guys are
no
good. I don't know.
muscles
Just
and
not
tumors.
macro
Right.
biology. Fair enough.
No carbonate formations here so far, which is interesting.
Right.
Yeah, we got a pretty good target out here, Tom, in front of us, though, about 20 meters. Sirius. It's been a pretty good indicator of bubbles in the water before. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Well, we've already covered this ground because Jeff changed his heading. Yeah, about 15 degrees, 20 degrees. Oh, okay. Not as dramatically as I thought. Not too much.
Very interesting patterns on the seafloor.
Yeah. It's neat.
So
Very
these are
flat
two
here.
different types of bacteria, though, the dark and the light. Is that right? Have I got that
the,
right? Or
the dark stuff is not bacteria.
okay, so that's just some maybe reduced.
Something else. Yeah. This is interesting.
Oh, there we go.
It's a good.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this depression here. Maybe you've got some chunks of hydrate here. It looks like could be a burrow though, rather than a. But let's take a look anyway.
I mean, there's a little hole there that looks like a burrow, but maybe that's not what formed this whole structure. I don't know.
No, I don't think it. You're right.
I think this is where the bubbles are coming from.
still cool looking.
Little fragment, perhaps fragments of hydrate. See, now that crab's headed back for that burrow. I got money. I got money that says that crab is going back to that burrow.
He dares us to get close to there.
I can take him in a fair fight, but it wouldn't be fair. Now, is that hydrate though? Are we looking
I
at
don't know. It looks
pieces
like
of hydrate around that
rocks,
rocks?
I think.
But I think that's that crab's home, and he's just going to defend it to the death.
Just a second ago, that looked like hydrate on the upper left.
Well, that's it. I think we may be looking at a substrate of hydrate here. And we could pan up and to the left, gentlemen, when you're done looking at this burrow.
Are those chunks of mixed sediment?
Well, that's it. I mean,
hydrate?
you know, that would be the question.
Yeah, Bob suggests mudstone-like. I have seen this, you know,
Yeah.
mudstone stuff. We've trawled it up
That's,
before.
but it could be charged. Could
Yeah.
be charged with gas
yeah,
as well.
right. So how about that white stuff up there? That does kind of look hydrate-like, huh? Looks like hydrate to me.
Yeah, it could be. And Bob might be right as well. There may be some mudstone involved in it, but that looks like hydrate.
Well, yeah.
That looks like hydrate there.
I think what Bob might have been referring to as mudstone is that kind of broken stuff more in the foreground.
But you know, it looks to me like there's hydrate mixed in with it, and that could easily be true. You know, but that's great.
Cool. All right. Well, hydrate's around. Now we just gotta have to find those bubbles. I don't see any ice worms on this one.
No ice worms yet.
Not yet. I haven't gotten here yet.
And we've got a serious sector scanning sonar target that suggests a bubble stream about 11 meters out in front of us.
Lots of dead shells around here too.
Yep.
Mussel shells.
Yep. Is that a tube worm there on the? Might be a shell, I guess.
Not sure. These.
Yeah, certainly seeing more shell now. Some of these look living.
Yeah, these are living mussels.
Yeah, these
here.
are living mussels.
Another really pretty big patch of mussels here.
Wow, this is a very extensive field of living mussels, unlike the extensive field at Pascagoula we saw that was predominantly dead mussels. We've got a lot of living mussels here, and some topography in front of us as well.
Yeah, my impression is that this is a thriving mussel bed here.
Certainly
I
looks
saw
like
several little individuals.
it. Yeah, it's a very, very big accumulation here. Wow, a lot of topography now too. This is
Lots of mussels. You can see all that white stuff that's sticking out.
extensive living mussel bed though.
Of the mussels is their siphons. So they are constantly pumping water through their bodies. And then that white staining sort of towards the left center, think is the kind of staining we always see on their shells, or we often see on their shells, which might be some kind of chemical precipitate.
Yeah, that's the idea. We want to try to give this a good look around. We're not in a hurry here. Yep, that's true. Boy, that is one big mussel colony, though. We haven't seen that big an expanse of living mussels yet.
Yeah, they're incredibly dense there.
Appears to be a very large depression, and our experience suggests that this could be a hydrate dissociation collapse feature of some kind, and that you might actually see blocks of hydrate along the sides of this depression. Saw that the other day. not seeing us getting any closer to this. Just kind of maneuvering Herc, huh?
I believe this. You should be right there. Straight ahead? No, just stop. Go down much closer to the bottom.
Have you seen a return from Little Herc? The nice thing.
No, I
Oh,
haven't,
maybe
but
right
I've seen
there.
the floats. See, so
Closer floats?
he's right over the top.
It's only 10 meters and 20 meters. I gotta think that's not that far away, you know? Yeah.
I think this is holding where he is.
Yeah. Spin left, right, down. Yeah, small detector.
Do you mind if we get the lasers on?
Lasers on. So there's the primary muscle field. That's worth looking at in compression.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. Let's take a look around here, get a little closer to the seafloor. We can do a slow pan around. Looks like we've got mussels of various sizes, the smaller ones and bigger ones.
Yeah, there was a rock just off to our left that had a bunch of little ones. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's there on our left.
Yeah,
again
and
now.
there are some ledges there that I want to take a close look at and get zooms on.
I've seen this over and over again. The little ones do tend to be that lighter brownish colored. And then they seem to get darker as they get older. I don't know why, but yeah. Can we look at it closely for just a little bit?
Some of these mussels are very large, though.
Yeah.
I mean, those are very, very large features. Those are 20 centimeters, some of those mussels.
It's pretty hard to tell what species the little guys are. They all look the same.
But you think that big one to the right is the same as the small ones?
Probably.
Hmm.
But I
Fascinating.
can't tell from this angle what it is either. Can we look at the rock over to the right with lots of mussels on it? I'm trying to get an impression of what are the smallest ones that you can see. It looks like there's some really small ones kind of on the top of that.
Yeah, zoom in on that one would be good. Yeah, that's what we had in mind.
Very cool. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and then we've got come wide when you can. I want to. There's a big outcrop, a big spire that's covered with mussels. I want to go and take a look at that too. It should be to the left, I think, in the background. It's in the middle of this big field. And it looks like we've been mostly north and east and south and east, and we approached from the south and west. We haven't actually looked north and west of this waypoint. We're going to want to do that before we call it a day here.
I see some shimmering there. They kind of glitter before you actually see them.
Down by that fishing line.
Great.
Yeah, we actually got serious low enough to light them up. That's what you see.
That's a good technique, back later than from series. It worked well. So there should be still straight ahead, John. There. We'll try to avoid that rock is on the far side of the fishing line. Okay. Up here, on your coast side. Kind of keeping his hat to the figure. Oh, I see him. Going straight at me.
Bob Carney saw him.
But there's no question that using the two vehicles in tandem is a good way to go.
Oh, there we go. Lots of them.
There we go.
Oh, that's quite a stream there, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of fishing line here too, on both sides of this.
Well, gentlemen, what
hummock here.
well, you know, I think we were close here before. It's this gray sediment, maybe a coating of hydrate on the seafloor. But what we want to do again is once we're stable, we want to get right in front of these, try to estimate the number of outlet points, and then and sit for a few minutes at least so that we can get video of escape. So probably want to look into the slope rather than along it. Yeah, I think so. I think it'd probably be better.
Yeah, watch. Yeah.
Yeah, there is some. There is some. Certainly is some, so you got to be careful. This will be. And you've got some in the background over the lip of the feature you want to look at, so we don't need to get over there. I think it's good. We're going to want to zoom in and take a look, though, before if you don't want to get closer to the line, then this is fine. We'll live with this. Roger that. Yeah. Well, we're seeing multiple escape here. We're at least 2, 3 places. Oh, I agree. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, it is a little difficult to discern the bubbles from the shadows.
Yeah, and unfortunately you've got sediment that's not color, which is not helping you very much in terms of. I think it's hydrate. I think you're seeing a coating of hydrate on the sediment itself.
I don't know. I don't think hydrate is gray though. I think that you see gray sediment wherever you have disturbed sediment.
Could
like
be mudstone. Could
when
be
you see those burrows and those furrows and stuff, those are gray too.
That's true. It's going to be hard to
Although,
They can zoom in and out though.
now that I'm looking at it on this screen close to me, I can even see the individual bubbles. And I'm sure when you slow it down, it'll be much easier.
I'm having a hard time determining how many outlet points there are though, because of the shadows.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're counted
seen
4.
4, 5.
I wasn't quite at 5, but I believe you. I see 4 at least.
Yep.
Yeah. The really strong one is down low to the left. That one really is boiling away there. Yeah, let's hold this for at least 3 minutes, gentlemen.
Here.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, this is a beautiful view.
Yeah, the first team.
Yep. We see 6 sources.
I've got 5. But, you know,
There's one in the middle that's really
we're all
slow,
right.
and one in
We're
the
all right.
background that's
We're all
kind of
right.
slow.
We're all right. Oh, I've got the 6th one. I've got the 6th one now. It's in the center background. Got
Yep.
big bubbles, that one. Yeah, I got 6.
Oh, it's 7, because there's one here too, another in the background. Yeah, I don't think that one was there before.
You people are on drugs. People are sniffing. These people are sniffing gas. Yeah, here we go. But that's the most that's the strongest set of flows we've seen from a small area, and so far, seep 606. So we're gonna drop a marker here.
Are we going to put a physical marker here?
Do you? Yeah, that's a good point, Tom. Do you want to put a physical marker at this one?
If we were going to put one anywhere, it'd be here.
I think it would be a good
I
idea.
think if we don't put it here, we're gonna bring it back to the surface.
Right. Yep. Seems like a good spot. Hey, Jamie, one other thing is if we can get the lasers right straddling that, or maybe so we can get some kind of measurement, some frame of reference for us.
Yeah, let's flip the lasers on, gentlemen, and see how we're doing.
They have the lasers on. Do you want to pan them up a little bit, Tom, so that they're within the bubbles?
Are the lasers on?
They are. See, they're in the bottom.
Oh, they're done. Yeah, there they are.
Yeah, Aaron, if you guys could move them up so that they were adjacent to that very strong seat, that would, I think, really help us.
Okay. So Tom asked that.
I don't know if that's
Do you want to do that now?
yes.
Okay. Tom asked that we. Here. Tom asked that we pan up a little bit so that the lasers are right next to the bubbles. There you go. That's good. Thanks.
Okay, we're about 2 minutes into this view now. We've moved in and out a little bit, or 3 minutes in, but we can give it another 2 or 3 minutes. I think we will want to drop a physical marker here, gentlemen, before we leave. And then we've only got about 10 minutes left on the seafloor, Tom. We could drive across the waypoint to the northwest. Up to you.
Hey, Jamie, this is Kevin Jerem here.
Yep.
Tom just left the room, and we're going to, just get a few more seconds of this, and then we can lift off and head across the waypoint that you mentioned.
Okay,
And then
great.
we'll pretty much be free to ascend at your pleasure.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
There. Thank you.
Let's give this another 2 minutes, gentlemen, and let's drop a marker. I have a south and east of the waypoint. What I'd like to do before we ascend is come northwest and cross the waypoint one more time. We haven't looked north and west of the waypoint as I reckon things, and I'd like to do that just briefly, and then we can come up. Okay, one more minute. It's a good view in the pilot cam too. Those bubbles coming up. It's great. Really quite a lot of gas.
Jamie, do you happen to know if the EK60 is running and recording at this time?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. Tom, we just checked and it is running and it is recording.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen, we have enough here. So at your leisure, we can drop a marker and lift off, and then I want to drive north and west. That's really a bubbler. That's really a bubbler. That one is. That one's. That's supersonic. That one is. Boy, look at the way those bubbles just shoot out. Incredible. Incredible. What's the number on this marker? That's true. That's another way. It's another way to figure that out. As long as we see it after we drop it, it's all right. No big deal. $290? 29. M29, roger that. Yeah, make it a little more visible. Very nice. Very nice, everybody. Very nice. I think somewhere near the top of the ridge would be good. Somewhere where it's a little easier to see. Oh yeah, well, no, I mean you can back. It can be on the foreground side. It can be on this side. Anywhere up high though. Anywhere on this side of the bubbles would be fine. Well, you just basically slide it out. Dave, is that the idea? I mean, is it? Yeah. Bombs away on Mr. Crab. He won't know what hit him. Sounds good. There you go. Nicely done. Excellent. When you're ready, gentlemen, I'd like to drive north and west several tens of meters across the waypoint approximately. Just give that a quick look, and then we're free to ascend. That's good. That's close enough. That'll work. Seeper's forever marked, and we get back, it'll be covered with hydrate. Great. Wonderful.
So if you pick up the marker at 270, straight ahead, put you right on. The marker's due east.
Drive over the bubble stream one more time, Dave. There's the navigational text on it. There's the marker at bottom. Center.
Yeah, it looks like your USBL is cooperating with you at the moment. Pretty.
I just noticed that I'm not getting the navigation stuff on real-time data. Are you?
I haven't. I actually haven't looked here recently. I will look. Yep, I'm getting it.
Okay, good.
Nice work, gentlemen. Very nice. Across the muscle bed we go. We don't have to go too far. I just want to convince myself we've got northwest of the waypoint and take a look there, and then we'll call it a dive.
This is a little stretched out. Super cool from close north. John, I think it's an ops oh, it worked. Yeah, the last conversation I had with Dad was that he was going to look into Panama Bottom and we weren't supposed to leave until he got back to us. Understand? So, maybe as soon as we get back to it? Sure. Seems like we have some time for you. Yeah, why don't you call the forward lounge on your phone?
Yeah, they've got an ops briefing in the forward lounge, I think, either there or on the bridge. Well, we got a seep at the beginning and a seep at the end.
New pull time, we have to be at 18. We have to be at 50 meters at 18:50, which means we leave bottom at 5 o'clock local. So we just got extended by an hour and 45 minutes.
I'm not sure we must be on the seafloor that long.
I have no orders that we must be here that long.
I don't think we need to be here that long. So I don't. I think our colleagues at CCOM are pleased when we do this short search north and west. I think we can come off the seafloor in 15 minutes or less. I don't think. I think we've got what we need. I just want to convince myself we've done a little searching up north and west of the waypoint. And when we're all convinced that's true, I think we're done. And our rise time from here is about, what, 80 minutes anyway, right? 80 to 90, 80 minutes. So that would get us up, well, assuming we leave here in 15 minutes, get us up about 5 o'clock. That crab's seen us
Looks
and
familiar.
is
Yeah.
not interested in having us be there anymore. So. Yeah, I'd like to see Sirius at or north and west of the waypoint and then have Herc just take a look around. There is a line, there's line there in the bottom of that depression.
Yeah. More fishing line,
There's
mussels.
fishing line in the middle, though. No, I think we're within 15 minutes of being done. That's the idea.
Yeah, we were. We get this heading. Up to the front with the hawk.
And I'd like to.
Turning my horn, following.
I've got you. I've still got you north and east of the waypoint, though. I'd like to get a little west.
You have been northwest of the waypoint.
Have I? Have I?
You have been.
All right. Well, is there is Jeff? Is there a sense that there is a part of the waypoint within a radius of 50 or so meters that I have not seen?
Have we been? Yeah, we have. We've been everywhere at least once. Lots of.
Well, then if you are comfortable that we have done that, then in my view we are done. So let me double check with CCOM. Tom, you and Kevin, you're okay with where things stand?
Hi, Jamie. This is Kevin. Tom's still out of the room at the moment, but I think we're comfortable.
Roger that.
We got a lot of great footage of the seat.
Great, excellent, gentlemen. We're ready to come up when you're ready to do it. Very nice dive, gentlemen. We found seeps at each end, which was the general idea.
We're not on.
Very nice dive, gentlemen. We found seeps at each end, which was the general idea. All right, nicely done.